please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, no problem. All right, before we get underway, I'd like to take care of a few administrative matters first. The fire exit is located to your left. In the event of a fire, you will be notified by an announcement. If notified, please move in a calm and orderly fashion to the exit. Do not use the elevator. Use either the north or the south doors, stairs to leave through the north or south doors. Our meetings are being recorded by Donna tonight for the purpose of a record and minutes. So when you come to the podium, please identify yourself each time by that you speak into the microphone with your name and your address. The minutes are just a record of our proceedings. They are not a verbatim transcript. We will follow the items on the agenda in the order that they appear on the agenda. There are extra copies of the agenda available near the door. Once the case has been called, the applicant or their representative will come to the podium, identify himself or herself, state their address, then they will be sworn, and then they will present their case. During their presentation, the zoning board members have an opportunity to ask questions and obtain information from the applicants. After that is concluded, then the case will be open to public input. Anyone who wishes to speak to the board concerning the application needs to come to the podium, identify themselves along with their address, and direct their questions and comments to the board, not to the applicant or their representative. We take those who wish to speak in favor of the application first, and then we call upon those who wish to speak in opposition to the application next, and then after that the applicant has an opportunity to address any questions or issues that came up during the public input portion of the hearing. Once that's concluded, then the hearing is closed and we continue to the next case. Please note that once you come to the podium and speak and leave, that's the only time you get to be at the podium on that case. You can come and comment on every case if you'd like, but on that case you get one on each case. Once the case is closed, we will then proceed on to the next item on the agenda. Once we've continued and through the agenda and completed all of the cases that we have before us, we will take a short break. Then we will come back and deliberate on the cases in the order in which they appear on the agenda and for which an applicant or a representative is still present. So, for example, if the first applicant has left and the second applicant is still present, we would take the second applicant first. Then we would proceed down the agenda in the order of those who are still here, and then we would go back and do number one and continue down the agenda in the order of those who are no longer here. If no further input is allowed during the deliberative portion of the meeting, you're welcome to stay and listen to the deliberation. If you're interested in knowing what the outcome of a particular case was, you can call the Building and Zoning Department tomorrow morning after 9 o'clock, and they'll be glad to tell you, or you can watch the replays on TV, and you'll find out from there. I believe that concludes all the administrative matters. Yes.
One more thing.
One more thing.
To welcome our mentor, Mr. Thomas, back.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice to have you back with us. First case.
I just wanted to mention that one of the tabled items will not be heard tonight, 759 Winona Boulevard.
We received an email advising that the applicant had called and asked to have that adjourned to the September meeting. My understanding is that within the next month they're going to be reaching out to their neighbors to see if there can be some community goodwill restored.
Okay. All right, then. Okay, ZB 1308-1, upon the matter of request by Pierce Engineering, acting as agent for Mavis Tire Company, to erect a freestanding sign exceeding maximum allowable signage allowable on premises 1490 Eastridge Road in a C commercial district.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Pierce, P-I-E-R-C-E. I'm the principal with Pierce Engineering. Our address is 3975 Amber Road, Syracuse, New York. We are the engineers and acting agent for Mavis Discount Tire, a New York corporation in Westchester County.
Okay, Mr. Pierce, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Now, you probably have no information about this, but when I was at the location yesterday to look things over, I noticed that the white and red signs that we have back on there were nowhere to be found on the property. Do you know anything at all about that?
Only what I learned in the last 15 minutes. When Donna brought it to my attention, I called the construction superintendent, who by that time was on the road. I had stopped there on my way here on some other matters. I called him. He called his foreman, who was still on the site. His foreman could not find the sign. He was absolutely certain that as of Friday, when he was here, it was displayed. I know nothing more than that, other than the fact that there is a lot of construction going on. There's road crews in the area. There's a lot of traffic. I don't know.
I know it's a mess up there, okay. And
It was Friday.
I looked around to see it, but it wasn't around, so.
Then, sir, I'll take your word that it's not there, but it was told to me that it was there on Friday.
With all the trucks and the construction, it's very possible it got knocked down or put inside for a little while or something, but.
It appears that way.
So tell us about the sign that you want to put up. It's smaller than the one that you talked to us about in June?
It's, right, it's gotten smaller.
Okay.
It's I think it's in your folder in my jacket. It's our standard, we call it the Mavis Only sign. Illuminated freestanding sign. We would put it on a pylon, whatever the height requirements were. It's considerably smaller than the one that we would have preferred, our first choice, which was turned down. First choice being 71 square feet. As you can see, this one is 48 and a half square feet. It is, as signs go, it is a petite sign. We feel it anyway. The company also feels very strongly that these freestanding signs are an asset to their business. Otherwise, they wouldn't spend the money that they do in order to have them installed. And the fact that I'm coming back for a second visit to the well, they very much would like to include this freestanding sign as part of their renovation. Unfortunately, right now, everything looks like a mess, but I think in 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to be very pleased with what you see there, based on Webster and Grease and...
Well, right now, they're in keeping with the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Because that whole intersection is a mess, and that whole stretch of Ridge Road.
but it's going to get better.
That's
Can't make an omelet.
temporary inconvenience, permanent improvement, I think is what
Right.
they say.
However, that's our plan. And if any of you have seen the other remodeled ones in the area, I think you can see that they are an improvement to the business neighborhood. It's only to Mavis's benefit that it attracts customers. And I think I mentioned last time that historically, after a rebranding and a build-out, we get an uptick of about 25% in business. So it's going to definitely be an improvement to the business community and Arundecoit in general.
Is it a pole like this or a straight pole?
It would probably be a straight pole. I think the one that I showed, I think that's Vestal, right? Vestal, there was, for some reason, there was a gooseneck. Oh, I know. It was an existing gooseneck, and they simply replaced the coal muffler on that one. But no, ours would be a straight up pole.
When I was there, I think it was last week, one of the managers or assistant manager mentioned that it definitely would have a coal name on it. Is that true?
He was wrong.
He was wrong?
He was wrong. It'll be Mavis Discount Tire. Coal appears on the wall sign.
Right, I know.
But for this one, because of the size limitation, we can only show Mavis. He was probably thinking of the co-branded sign that I tried to get in a couple months ago.
Okay, because he did call another store and they said the coal name was gonna be on it.
Well,
So they're all wrong then.
where we can, we do put the coal sign on it, but this one is not going to, no.
I think is it in Henrietta? Is there another, or Greece? One of them.
Greece, no, Greece doesn't have, I don't think Greece has a freestanding sign.
Okay, you're right.
So I don't,
So
He was
only be
pro-
Mavis then,
it will be that sign that you see there, just don't pay attention to the gooseneck.
okay?
You did have to go back to the town of, was it you that presented at the town of Greece? Or was it
Yes,
someone else?
I did. Let me see, what did I do there?
Because I happened to stop by the store for business.
I did go back, I think we were denied the freestanding sign. We went back with I haven't, to tell you the truth, I haven't been back there since then. And I don't know if they put up a really teeny sign, or they just gave up on the whole thing.
I
don't
know they were planning on putting a sign there. I actually saw the base of the sign
Oh, you did?
put in, and I was talking with the store manager, and he had said that the town had requested them to put in a row of trees along the curb, along the sidewalk and curb.
Typically, we do a lot of landscaping.
And they had mentioned that that's how they got, by doing the trees, they got them to approve. Now, I have not seen the sign. I don't know if it's actually up yet, but I do know the base was there.
Yeah, we don't get permits by virtue of landscaping. We add landscaping to be a good neighbor, but either we get the variance or we don't. And I know I was turned down in Greece, to be honest,
That's what he had said.
and I haven't gone back. I haven't heard, to tell you the truth. You've got better information than I do.
That's just what the store manager had said. Whether he's correct or not, I'm not sure, but,
Yeah.
okay.
I think, and just to continue that, on Mount Hope, we sought a variance, but the variance, it turned out to be a monument sign. Because if you've gone down Mount Hope Avenue, they're restrictive of their heights. So where that happens, and Webster is another one, where that happens, we're very capable of making a monument sign. Obviously, a monument sign wouldn't work here. It would block traffic vision, so it'd have to be on a pylon.
You mentioned that after you finish the rebuild, rebranding, your business improves by 25%? Was
That's
that
been
correct?
the history, yes, sir.
Does that generally mean you hire more people at a store?
When it calls for it, yes. I can't sit here and say we're going to hire more people, but obviously, if there's more business and they need another person there, yes.
Any other questions? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing no one, we'll close the hearing with respect to that matter. Mr. Pierce, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Have a safe
Thank
trip
you.
back.
Thank you.
And move on to the next case.
ZB 1308-2, upon the matter request by Thornton Engineering, acting as agent for Daniel and Margaret Keefe, for area variances to construct a detached garage exceeding maximum allowable height and with less than required setback from Seneca Road on a waterfront property on premises 628 Seneca Road in an R2 residential district.
Good evening, I'm Glenn Thornton with Thornton Engineering, 30 Assembly Drive, Mendon, New York, 14506. I'm representing Dan and Margaret Keefe, who own residential property at 628 Seneca Road. With me tonight, I have Margaret Keefe in attendance. If there's questions I can't answer, I'll call Margaret up. The variance application, we have two applications in place.
I need you to raise your right hand first. And if Ms. Keefe's going to be offering testimony in relation, I would need her to raise her right hand as well. You can sit there. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, before Mr. Thornton begins, I think I would like to put this in a context. This application had gone before the planning board for some extensive site plan review, and all of which was approved subject to here. The two variances that are being applied for this evening, the setback and the height. The height is 1.25 inches, And the setback is dependent upon your interpretation of whether it's a so-called through lot. And it would be easy to suggest that from the height, and I know Larry has reviewed this extensively, that 1.25 probably could be shot so that it was really equal to and not requiring a variance. And likewise, the through lot, I think there's a very good interpretation that it's not, therefore it might not require it. However, I've talked to Mr. Thornton about this, and for purposes of title, we kind of concluded that it might be appropriate that they acquire the variances since they're in the presentation mode, and it would be settling. So they're de minimis in context of the presentation before the board. And again, I have to tell you, like I always do, I'm not taking a position one way or the other with regard to the application. It's just my advice that I think it's important for you to know that if for no other reason the variance is being requested, simply to make sure that title is in the best and most thorough condition it can be. I turn it back to you.
Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. This is an existing house. I'm sure you've visited the site, so you've seen it. The trigger here was that the owner wanted to build steps from the house down to the dock. And those steps go through a steep slope and an E-pod. And why that's important for you or people who are out watching is that if you're going to build in a steep slope or a woodlot E-pod, you need a permit. We just had two in the last 2 weeks where people didn't do that. It's created a huge mess to do it retroactively. Anyway, and that's also subject to a DEC permit because it's within 100 feet of the shore in their wetland buffer. They're basically demolishing a southern part of the house and building a new two-story addition on the same footprint. They're rebuilding their front deck. They're adding a northern addition. And why they're here tonight, and Glenn and I discussed this, is that the existing garage is 2 feet from the right-of-way of Seneca Road. And the new garage will be double that to a whole 4 feet. So this could have just been handled in my building department as a building permit, but we said, why don't we come to the zoning board and reaffirm that this closeness to the right-of-way is appropriate? Because we're moving further away from the road, the bay side elevation is 13 feet and change, and when you add that to the roadside elevation, which is 11 feet and change, and divide by 2, you come up with 12.25 feet. So I could have handled that greater than 12 as a de minimis, not worth worrying about. I could have said you round 12.25 down to 12, or, and Glenn and I discussed this, since we're going to go into the zoning board for this 2-foot to 4-foot setback, why don't we also document that your 3 inches of extra height in the garage is also okay?
Larry, can I just ask a quick question, and I guess I understand it looking at the picture of the side, but the midpoint is where you measure from on the roof line? You don't measure from the actual peak?
Correct.
Is that done all the time, or
That is the way our code is written.
it's always done by the midpoint of the pitch of the roof?
Yes, and so we've had people extend their eaves to lower the lower point so that they didn't have to come visit you, 7 gentlemen,
That's a neat trick.
and they didn't have to spend the $75, but Glenn and I felt it was well worth $75 to not mess up the architectural elements of the garage and, come get this done properly.
So the actual height at the peak is probably about another foot higher than that, but it's
Could be.
circumstantial.
Right. And again, for historical reasons, the reason that the Irondequoit Code is so low for garages, if you think about it, a 12-foot garage in a neighborhood with a 1920s building that typically had kind of a little loft area in their garages doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It was written in the 60s when people were building garages that were taller than their ranch house. So we really should probably have a code that says if you have a ranch, this is the height. And if you have a cape, this is the height. And if you have a two-story colonial, this is the height. But right now, we have one size that fits all, and that size is small.
I'll bet that costs them more than $75 to lower the eaves. When all is said and done.
Probably did, but they were scared of you.
And we're not such a fearsome board to come in front of, I don't. So, and I see Ms. joined us from China. I think that's probably a record of the longest anyone's come to appear in front of us, so.
She felt it was very important, so that's why she
We
came
like to
back.
feel that way.
Yeah. There's not a lot left for me to say, but I will just add a couple of things to this. As Larry mentioned, you know, we do have a house renovation. The garage is in poor shape. That'll be demolished and replaced with I think, a very attractive structure. The architects involved in the project are New Energy Works out of Farmington. They're the timber frame constructors in the area. They have a lot of quality houses. So I think, number one, I think the garage is going to kind of enhance the neighborhood. It's going to be an improvement. As Larry mentioned, we're moving from 2 feet from the road to 4 feet from the road. But we just would like to get that documented, that, you know, that is approved for future considerations. And the height, one thing that affected the height of the structure, not on the street side, we're compliant on the street side, it's the rear which only really faces the residence. As we move back away from the street, it's a steep slope. So as we move back, we're exposing more of the rear of the building. So we've done the best we could. We probably could have just pushed a lot of fill up against the structure, but we don't want to do that. That'd create excessively steep slopes out there. It's a delicate area out there, so we thought this is the best way to come in and request the variance.
I can add to that on the bay side of the garage is the leach field system. So if you were to fill, now you're filling over a leach field system, which is not good practice. So this has been,
It's built right on that hill? Is there a flat spot?
it's up on the plateau between the house and the garage. So as I say to engineers and architects, we want good design. If your good design requires a trip to the zoning board for variance, that is why we have a zoning board. Don't hamstring your design and just follow the code.
I have a question with regard to I think you referred to it as the garage in poor shape. That's that little outbuilding?
Yes, near the street.
And that's what you want to tear down to make room for the
Yes.
two-car garage. Now, that little building, now Pat Wayne is here. I don't know if you realize there's a significant historical value to that little building. And it used to be, I was just telling Joe about that, that used to be a clown shoe factory. It was run by Ray Griffin for years, and he made clown shoes for all the famous clowns of the world right there on Seneca Road. Now, I hate to see that thing torn down, mainly because it has historical significance.
Maybe we can find a spot for it on the side lawn.
Yeah, we could put it back by the cobblestone. But I don't know, Pat, if you ever knew about that clown shoe factory or not, but it was quite a place. When I first moved here, I didn't believe there was a clown shoe factory in Arundequoit. But I went there and I've seen it, and so I realize it's got to go. I don't know, as I was looking at this yesterday, there's a flat portion of right next to it, where parking now takes place. Is that just going to stay basically like that, so you have additional parking, or is it going to be?
It's going to be that'll be the entrance to the garage. The garage doors will be on the north side towards the existing paved area.
Oh.
And we're going to elevate the garage a little bit to meet grade with that paved area, and include some additional pavement over to the garage doors. So it's actually a usable garage. Right now, it's depressed and can't get any vehicles in it.
No, you can just make clown shoes or something like that, perhaps. But yeah, you're right. Okay, I just wondered about that. Thanks.
So technically, the entrance is gonna be turned around.
Well, there really isn't an entrance to the garage right now. There aren't any overhead doors for cars. So what we're proposing is the door will be on the north side of the building towards that paved area.
Larry, is there gonna be any issue with water drainage going in toward the garage doors?
I don't believe so, but there will be 2 dry wells on site. One taking site drainage and one taking, the roof drainage. And today, there are no dry wells, so all runoff just runs off the gumdrop of sand that's there. So, myself and the planning board are a lot more comfortable, long range. I think, Glenn, you've got storage for at least a 5-year, if not a 10-year storm.
Correct. I can't remember what it is. but
And,
yeah,
and
correct.
so,
Where are those,
final plans, we'll make sure that water's not running into the garage slab.
where do those, get put into the,
They're going right down into the sand. I mean, the sand probably has a 25 to 30% void ratio, which means that if you picture sand grains as cannonballs stacked on the lawn of West Point, there's 25% air between those grains. So you put water in there, it's gonna go down.
but are those, catch basins gonna be under the driveway or off? in the
No, I
yard
believe
somewhere?
they're in the lawn.
In the lawn area, one on the north side and one on the south side. We have to stay at some distance from the existing leach field up there. So we've got one on the north, one on the south, and that pavement area currently that will remain is kind of sheet draining off onto the lawn area. And we're going to be adding just a small amount of pavement pitched back away from the garage. And so there will be an overhang on the building. So there will be a little bit of additional impervious surface that'll be sloped down toward the lawn area.
Is there gonna be an actual drain in front of the garage doors?
No, we're not planning on that. We're just planning it the way we can pitch it, so it just kind of sheds off. Some of it, I think, sheds back onto the street or into, like, there's a little curb along the street, and it's collected on the street. So it's just a very small amount of pavement that's going to drain off towards the lawn.
This concrete, the steps that are being removed, where would the new area be to go down to the house? This is all gonna be removed, right?
No, that's the new,
Or is it-
the new, I'm sorry, the new sidewalk is shown with the shading here.
Right.
You see sidewalk up here connecting to the existing
So the-
steps and
oh, so-
stairwell.
Okay, so you're gonna connect to that,
Correct. The one sidewalk will be between the garage and the street.
okay.
Anyone else have any other questions? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing and move on to the next matter. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us from China.
ZB 1308-3, upon the matter of request by Bruce and Karen Kappen for an area variance to park, store a commercial truck on premises 50 Dunsmore Road in an R1 residential district.
My name is Bruce Capon, 50 Densmore Road.
I'm Karen Capon, 50 Dunsmore Road.
You'd raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask, did you all get our letter?
Yes.
Did you get 2 copies? The second page, I thought I have not.
Yeah, I do.
And I submitted 4 letters of support from our neighbors, and I have 2 more to give you today. Is that okay?
Why don't you just hand them up?
And also have pictures.
Just so the record is clear, we had, with our packets, we had letters from, I'm probably going to mispronounce this name, Steve Rafici at 81 Heberly Road, Dean Kaiser and Jean Louise Marr at 60 Densmore Road. We had an email from Dave and Marcia Gavin at 25 Densmore Road, and a letter from Alan and Nina Manfredi at 30 Densmore Road. And now you have two others that are from other neighbors.
They're neighbors a little further out. Actually, one is, I don't know where he lived, he just got
This is
a letter
from
him.
Mr. Falzone at 5 Catalina Drive, and, oops, collated, and one from, Millie Lewis
Correct.
On Norton Street.
on Norton Street.
There are only three neighbors within 200 feet of our property, and there's a letter from all of them, too.
And this is so that you can continue to keep the truck in your driveway that you've had parked there for a number of years, only
Almost 30.
it's a different truck. Is that right?
It's the same type of truck, just newer.
Right.
This is another kind of technical type presentation in a sense, but maybe less so, because I did review our court records, and Judge Janier did rule a dozen or so years ago that it was a pre-existing non-conforming use. Technically, I would be comfortable saying it is that now, except it's a new truck, so maybe it would be appropriate just to let the board hear it.
Okay, well, the new truck is actually much more attractive.
I understand that.
And it has better EPA standards, emissions and noise. And the foliage around the truck has even grown more since then. And it's pretty much hidden. You can't see it from anywhere on Norton Street whatsoever. You have to be directly in front of my driveway on Densmore to get a peek at the front of the cab. It sits back about 150 feet off Densmore
You
Road.
park it in the same place it was parked in on Sunday morning all the time?
Yes, sir.
Which I had to look hard to find it.
And I don't know what else to say, except that I've been doing it for 30 years, and I've never had a complaint until now. 13 years ago, there was one by some, I guess you might say, I don't know, a vigilante resident, wasn't a neighbor, but someone had been cited, so they went around town and wrote down everybody else's name. There must have been 75 to 100 of them. And my neighbor and myself were both on that list, so we went to Judge Kinnear then. The neighbor was moving in 2 weeks, so his truck was a moot point. He dismissed that case and grandfathered mine. And I haven't heard another thing until now.
What we think is, when Bruce got this other truck, this is what we're thinking, because this happened right after that we got this, someone supposedly called in. We had two trucks in the driveway for the 2 weeks while he was switching things over, because it's very timely to do it. And then, of course, the truck left after 2 weeks, but we're thinking that maybe somebody was thinking, oh, this guy's got a big business going here now or something. That's all we could think of, because we've never really had any problems there.
The new truck was parked in the turnaround, so it was obvious to everyone. You could see it easily. It was gone as soon as I finished the job and I sold the truck.
So you've kept it in the same place for about 30 years. It's a new truck. It's a better truck. And you're going to keep this one until you retire, if I read your letter right.
That's correct. I'm looking for about 4 years.
And your neighbors aren't complaining about it.
We have a letter from every neighbor.
Thank you.
Thank
Anyone
you.
have any other questions?
I just have a comment in reference to, commercial trucks and my take on it, and I even mentioned it to Bruce. I'm not a big fan of having something like that in the yard. However, in this particular instance, him and his wife should be commended on how nice they keep their home, how it's nicely shrubed, how the truck is tucked back in. You could barely see it from anywhere except straight up the driveway, and that's just the front grill of the truck. And the fact that the home is so nicely kept, it's not in any way an eyesore. So I just want to let you know that it looks great there.
Thank you.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
I have a question for our attorney here. When the judge ruled 10 or 12 years ago, did he rule on a particular truck or on a commercial vehicle in general?
I don't recall.
See, my concern here is if something were to happen to this truck and they get a new truck next week, we could be right back here all over again. If we're here only because it may be a different truck.
I think you could be theoretically, and that was my point. It's a technicality. And again, I'm not taking a position with regard to whether you approve the request or not. But given the history, no different than the prior application. Not that these things are tied together, but you're probably better to just get it done so it's on record. And if there's a new truck, it would make your next consideration all that much easier. But the code is the code, and those pre-existing non-conforming uses, I think, have to be interpreted very, very strictly. Otherwise, you could just lose sight of the code.
Okay.
Couldn't we make that a condition that there only be, no matter what the truck he's using, be only one of them in his yard, as long as it's tucked back in that spot?
I think that's, that sort of speaks to the application. He's only asking for one truck.
Right.
We can also limit it to a certain number of years and then have it have to come back to be renewed, which would ensure that it's not ongoing. And I think your letter indicated that you plan to retire in 4 years, so I'm thinking 6 is probably a good span, because I know sometimes those plans don't work out the way.
We're hoping for 4 to 5.
All right. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Step right up, sir.
I'd like to ask one question while you're coming.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Does, from my own knowledge, does any judge, not so much Judge Janier, have the authority to do what he did?
Yeah, that was an appropriate ruling at the time.
That's what I was just wondering. I mean, so he could do this before he even comes to a zoning board, the judge could authorize,
He was,
to stay there?
well, in this instance, he could. I'm not speaking about Judge Janier now.
No, I'm talking about a judge.
Anybody, I don't know that if someone were to rule on this set of facts with the different truck, I don't know that would be a pre-existing non-conforming use. At the time, it was the truck he'd used historically for that period of time, and it was appropriate.
So technically,
But if you
were denying
had a
this-
ruling in here today, I'd probably advise you that it would be appropriate to follow the ruling, the most current ruling. I may not agree with it, but that would be my advice. But you don't, so I don't have to say that.
Right, but if we were to deny it just for our own talk, are we overruling a judge's verdict on something like this, or?
That was my question.
No,
Okay.
no. In fact, any violations, what we do routinely, I represent the town with regard to violations that are before the town court. And we always encourage residents. We'll hold it in abeyance in the town court pending an appearance before the appropriate board. And then, depending upon the outcome of the board, the court will proceed accordingly. And I think we're doing that in this case.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, my name's Dean Kaiser of 60 Densmore Road, and I just want to take the opportunity to speak in favor of the area variance for myself and the co-owner of the property, Jean Louise Mahar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing and move on to the next matter.
ZB 1308-4, upon the matter of request by Craig Everhart for an area variance to construct a garage addition with less than required side setback on premises 594 Oak Ridge Drive in an R1 residential district.
Craig Everhart, 594 Oak Ridge Drive.
If you'd raise your right hand, Mr. Everhart, do you swear or affirm that everything you say today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
You should have letters, drawings, I think everything that I submitted. Pretty straightforward. An existing garage, two-car garage. I'd like to put in a small addition to the north side of it, about 5 feet wide. I have an existing side setback right now of about just under 14 feet. The requirement based on the property line is about 11 and a half. The addition would put me just under 9 feet, so I'm short about 2.5 feet.
I'd like to add to that. Our typical lot is 80 by 120, 9,600 square feet. So 10% of an 80-foot wide lot is 8 feet. So this is still more than what you would have if you built a house on a standard Aronicoit lot today. And because this is a pie-shaped lot, wider in the front and narrower in the back, we have this situation where they want to move closer to the property line. Also, state code is 5 feet from the property line, so they're much greater than the 5 feet.
This is on the south side of the garage, isn't it?
It's
Away
on the
from the
south
lake?
side, yes, I'm sorry. You're correct.
You threw me off
I said
there for a
north, I know, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
It's where you started to dig the trench along the edge?
Yes.
And I assume this is to store
This is to
additional
store, well, not
stuff?
additional, just existing snow blower, lawnmower, various items. I've talked to everybody in the neighborhood for the most part, at least that showed any interest, had no problems. The only concern that did come up was the neighbor that would have been directly to the south, next to the garage, was concerned whether or not I'd be running any heavy-duty stationary power equipment, lathe, thing like that was gonna create noise, and that is not my intent at all. It could be stipulated as such if it was a matter, if it was a concern.
And you don't have any shed yet on the property?
No.
You're gonna remove the entire wall I see by a beam?
Yes.
Okay, so there's not just one little opening?
No, the whole thing's just gonna push out.
It's really gonna affect the whole entire roof section on that side, isn't it?
Yes, it will. They're gonna put the same type of a roof that's on the front coming off the back, so it'll be the same level, and it'll be the best way to make it look like it was.
Any other questions? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this application?
Not sure it's really in opposition, but my name is Greg Devlin, 550 Oak Ridge. And I know the house is a very nice house, and in the over 30 years it's been at 550, one thing I always noticed about that house was that the garage was the most prominent part of that property. And I'm having a hard time understanding just exactly how far toward Gerken's house you plan on going. I didn't hear that mentioned, and all I know is we got in the mail the notice that there was going to be a hearing, and that's all we heard.
5 feet.
5 feet. Does that violate any code with regards to the amount of access for emergency equipment?
No.
Actually, they'll have 8.8 feet setback.
Yeah, but
And will the roof,
he's going out 5 feet from the garage, right, Mr. Everhart? 5 feet.
is the garage, is the roof going to just continue on down and just going to lower the position?
This is against protocol, but this is what
I don't
it'll
care about
look like,
protocol.
the front face of it will look like in this line. So this is the existing garage line, this will be the new,
I see.
and this will be the new, like so.
That doesn't look too obstructive. Perkins have no problem with it. I don't have any problem with it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This is yours?
Anyone else here to speak? I guess you didn't speak in opposition, to speak to this application. All right, we'll close that hearing and move on to the next matter.
ZB 1308-5, upon the matter request by Holly Cornerin for an area variance to install front and side yard fencing exceeding maximum allowable height, type, and linear footage on premises 204 Whipple Lane in an R1 residential district.
Hi, my name's Holly Corcoran. I'm the homeowner and resident at 204 Whipple Lane. I've brought my brother, Steve Schmidt, with me. He's a contractor. He owns Sunbury Home Services, and he'll be building my fence, if you have any specific questions for him.
You could raise your right hand.
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And you want to put up this fencing on the side of your house?
Yes, I actually have a few signatures from my surrounding neighbors that I've collected, if you want to pass those around. My corner faces Ivan Green Elementary School. It's an extremely open corner lot, and I live on my patio and would like some privacy. I know the original variance that I wrote to you was requesting a 4-foot solid dog-eared fence to match my neighbors, but I would really love a 6-foot across there if,
You know, when I read it, I was wondering why you wanted only 4 feet.
I was compromising, but, you know, sitting out there, because I like looking at my side yard too, so I'm a little torn with it, do I want 6 feet or 4? But yeah, I would just like some quiet. Traffic gets a little crazy, like tonight, the Vince Lombardi football started up. It can get noisy, and I'm sure my neighbors would rather look at a fence and a garden rather than me in my pajama bottoms drinking my coffee on a Saturday morning.
Just so for the record, we have paper signed by 3 people indicating that they're in support of the project. Richard Frank from 15 Crestridge Lane, Mary Kay Gentner from 16 Crestridge Lane, and Denise Farabelle from 212 Whipple Lane. I'll pass that down. And part of the reason that you need the variance is because this is a corner lot, and
Yes, that's
what you
considered-
look at and everyone would look at is the side of your house the town views as being the front,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And if it was the side of the house, you wouldn't need the variance.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. This is really, you're really out there. This is wide open space. And I don't blame you for wanting some privacy there, but I just have a couple of questions. On this page with the really good photographs, when we come across the back, the very back of the lot,
Okay, my lot where
Yeah.
the neighbor's fence is, or
it's actually.
beyond the house?
this-
Oh,
this
yes,
part. You're gonna want,
yes.
that's where you want that fence, right?
Yes.
And now there's another fence that shows up in the picture. Is this gonna go up to that
Yep,
fence?
and she's one of my signatures. It's gonna look exactly like her fence. It's gonna be hopefully a 6-foot closed picket, dog-eared, that will connect right to her fence, come along the, you know, the back of my patio and corner around,
And then you wanna come down the side.
just 5 feet out. So there'll still be about 35 feet between the fence and the sidewalk.
Okay, so that tree that we see
Oh, that's
sitting right
really
there,
far out towards, yeah.
So that's not gonna be touched?
No. Love that tree. Over my dead body.
The little bush that shows in the picture won't be touched either, will it?
No. And in fact, I wanted it 5 feet out from the patio because I'm really an avid gardener, and I wanted to plant perennial gardens on both sides of the fence, so that I would have it on my patio side and on the other side.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter and move on to the next case.
ZB 1308-6, upon the mayor request by Jody and Edward Amon for area variances to operate a home occupation in a proposed 1,000 square foot, 18 feet high accessory structure, and to exceed the number of maximum clients hosted per hour to accommodate group sessions, subject to Town Code Section 2358F2B and Section 2358F9, and for height variance for the proposed accessory structure, which exceeds the maximum allowable height on premises 470A St. Joseph Street and 470B St. Joseph Street. Properties are proposed to be combined in an RR Rural Residential District.
Hello, I'm Jody Amon, 478 St. Joseph Street.
You could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh, I'd start? I do have signatures also from my neighbors. I've talked to my neighbors about the project, and so far I haven't heard anything negative about it. So I'd like to build an accessory structure to host my business. I'm a therapist or counselor, a consultant, and I'd love to, I have my business for about 10 years on Eastridge Road, on the corner of North Clinton and Eastridge. So I've been there for 10 years. Before that, I was right across the street on on Titus, so I've been in practice for a really long time. And I think my license is with the information, but I'd like to have some space outside to sit with clients and be with them and take walks, and it's hard to do that on Eastridge Road. So I'd like to, the reason why I'm asking for the variances is because I don't have a place in my house that would be private enough to do that and have my family have some space. So I'd like to, I have the space out there to do an accessory structure. I would also like the variance to make it higher, and the height is really because if we resell the property or redivide it, I wrote this in my letter, then it could be like an RV garage. And so I thought it needed to be a little higher to offer that as a future plan for it. If I re-separate the lots and it's sold again, it could be someone's garage, or it could stay as one lot and someone could buy my house and use that as a garage space too. So it won't be, just nothing in the future. But we plan to stay there for a really long time anyway.
When I was out there Sunday morning, if your son says somebody drove in,
Oh, we saw ya.
drove out, that was
I was
me.
gonna walk down, but,
The location map that we got shows this garage by itself sitting in the middle of what is a field now.
Yes.
Doesn't show anything about how you're going to get to the garage,
oh, like the driveway?
like a driveway, and where the 4 to 8 people that you're looking to have as a class are going to park.
Oh,
cars.
okay. So there's so much space there, I didn't draw the driveway. I wasn't too sure about how involved to go because, I didn't know if I'd get approved or not, so I don't have oh yeah, I do here.
So for our purposes, it seems to me the only question is, are you planning on having a driveway to the building? And are you planning having parking that would accommodate 4 to 8 people?
Yes, but there's more than enough space for it. And in the,
Clearly, there's that, yes.
there is that.
There's plenty of space.
There's
You could
plenty of
probably park
space for
20
it.
cars in that.
Absolutely.
area,
Yeah, and it wouldn't, it wouldn't affect anybody. But the driveway's already there, so it would just be a short little stint
Right, it'd be
extra
off
that
of
I'd
the
have to
drive.
build, yeah.
Okay. And if we were to approve this, subject to your plans being for parking and access being approved by the planning board, I assume you
Okay.
have no problem with that?
Sure, no, absolutely, yeah,
Because we like to keep them busy whenever we can.
yeah.
Enough to do. Yeah, actually, this was discussed with the planning board chairman, and this would be a resub, which would be an administrative of combining the two lots so that this structure was not hanging out in the breeze on its own lot. And then, it would be just a administrative and internal review of her driveway and parking area. And as she pointed out, at some time in the future, if some car buff bought it, then he would have a place to store his toys. Or if somebody in the future bought it and wanted to build a house on the lot, they'd already have the garage ready to go. So, as far as our department's concerned, we're just looking for your approval and then architectural building plans for this building.
Excuse me, Larry, we all know about this area, is there a water area problem in that area?
This is gonna be a slab on grade, so it really shouldn't be a problem. If you were digging a 10 or 12-foot basement, you might have a sump pump running quite a bit, but for what she's proposing, it shouldn't be a problem at all.
May I answer that too?
Sure.
When we proposed the two lots originally, the pond was built to drain off the space that was taken by two homes. So it would be, the pond is more than large enough to, adjust for that cement or that non-permeable.
Notice you got rid of your chickens, huh?
No, we still have them.
Oh, did you? Okay, drove
Yeah.
all the way back to,
Yeah. Oh, you drove all the way back and didn't see them?
well, that's like going half a mile to your house.
Chickens, I knew,
I was here before, yeah.
I missed the meeting with your chicken.
You missed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
my question has to do with the part of the town code with regard to having a business in your residence there are some very specific guidelines about that. How many cars per hour and in and out, that type of thing. And I guess my question is, has this been reviewed? Does it look like this is going to fit into that? When you mentioned several cars at once, is this something we have to consider as far as conditions?
It's part of the
that type of
request.
thing?
Part of the request is that she's looking for a variance from those limitations that you're referring to.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's addressed.
The first variance is from the in-home occupation of the business. So they want to construct an accessory building and conduct a business in that. Our code doesn't allow that. It's only, if you allow a business, it's in-home. So that's a variance. Then the second variance, as I see it, that they're requesting is for a variance from the home occupation component of how many clients at a time per week.
The
per
code
hour.
is 2 per hour,
Two
so I'm
per hour.
asking for up to 8.
And are you asking to change the hours as well? Because it's a very specific hourly
Oh,
requirement.
9 to 6?
Correct.
That, 8 to 6. I guess I would have, I would sometimes, one night a week have an
Or
evening,
the board
yeah.
would have, and then finally, the height is a third variance.
And the height was less for me, but more for kind of the resale.
And that's what sparked my interest, is that whole resale thing, because I don't know if unless we put certain conditions on this, just a straight approval of this could mean that if they decide to sell it, the next owner could put a big automotive repair place in there and have, the noise and the unsightliness of a car shop down there. And that is really a pristine area. You wouldn't want that in there.
Yeah. They would have to apply for a variance for that and
Well, that's my point, would they?
Yeah.
Well, no,
Depending on how we approve
conversely,
this.
you could condition an approval on a restriction that the only use that would be permitted would be the use that's being requested.
I know that we had one on, I believe it's Hedgegarth, many years ago, where we limited it to the person who was doing the counseling in the home for so long as she lived and resided in the home. So I think we could probably put a restriction on that would limit it to Ms. Amon's occupation so that there'd be no risk that someone could open a branch of, Pep Boys or something
Right.
down there.
And on that, you're a licensed clinical social worker?
yes.
Okay.
We did have one with a freestanding garage, upholsterer, that was a while back.
Bristol Avenue was that one.
Yeah.
For the hours, you had mentioned before that you'd like one night a week to
Yes,
be
I-
passed. How late would it be? 8 o'clock?
I usually work till 9 on
So
Wednesday.
one night a week, you'd like to be allowed to have
Yes.
clients come till 9 o'clock?
Yes.
And I noticed that you said that once or twice a month, you'd like to have more than 2 per hour.
Right, to
And
do
that would
like a
be
group. It
6
would
to
be a
8
morning,
people?
it would be, yes.
And
It'd
when
be-
would that happen? During the day?
It would be a morning, yes,
During the week?
yes.
Okay.
So, allowing for expansion, if we were to condition a variance on there being, you being allowed to have up to 10 people for no more than 3 hours at a time, no more than 4 times a month, that would accommodate your needs?
Absolutely,
All right. And allowing you to exceed the hours one night per week
yes.
till 9 o'clock would accommodate your needs?
Absolutely,
And limiting it to you would be okay?
absolutely.
All right.
Is this, I'm sorry, has this lot already been, the 2 lots already been combined into one lot? Or is
Not
it
yet.
some-
Nope, we're waiting to see how this,
So you're doing that just so you can, is it necessary that she has to combine the 2 lots,
Well, there was-
Larry?
Yes. Yes.
The reason for that?
You can't have an accessory structure just off on its own lot.
But she could build a building on a separate lot.
She could build a building as long as it was a habitable structure, but we have this in the code so someone can't just go build a random garage on some lot up near Seabreeze and store stuff up there. It then becomes kind of a commercial storage. So when she combines this is no different than building a tea house in your backyard or something.
Okay. I mean, to me, it doesn't look so much as a garage as a small apartment. I mean, not that it matters to me what it looks like, but in reference to it, it's almost like if it was left separate lots, you're building a separate home.
May
And she
I
could use it
respond?
as a home office.
Excuse me.
That would be,
We thought of all the options, because that was originally, we were gonna build a primary structure, but then I wouldn't be occupied there. So I couldn't have I would have to apply for a variance to have my business in a home that I wasn't living in. And so, working with the architect and talking to Donna, we decided applying for this variance might be better, but if that variance works for everybody, it would be the same thing for me, because
Excuse me, the operative word is dwelling.
yeah.
Even if it was built as a habitable structure, if it's not being dwelt in, then it wouldn't comply.
Yeah.
So, we need to, make the lots come together, so it's a outbuilding.
Then it becomes an accessory structure. Then you need to impose, if you're so inclined, a variance on the home occupation to allow it not to be in the main dwelling structure, but in the accessory structure.
Which is similar to the Bristol Avenue one you had 1 or 2 years ago.
Now, knowing some of the flats, down, growing up around the town, but there are some other businesses down in the flats that have had separate buildings and separate, family dwellings, and then also, businesses there. So it's not uncommon to that neighborhood.
And there's also a pipe distributor on St. Joseph Street across the old railroad track bed, so he's actually in the city of Rochester, but unless I told you he was in the city of Rochester, you would just think he's in the flats in Arundecoit. So we have a mix of kind of farm use and
There's a guy with a body shop down there.
pure residential use. Yeah, it's kind of interesting place in Arundecoit. Very different than
But
Seabreeze.
it's not an uncommon place to have a separate structure for a business.
Yes, there's at least two that I know of, and
Is the facility going to be tied into your existing house?
yes, it will match it with the,
No, I mean, sewers and water lines, or is that also?
we're gonna try to link it into the leach field. But we might have to, it's already prepped we could build its own leach field. But if we could combine it to ours, it would save us a little bit.
It would save you a lot of it.
Any other questions? Seeing none? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anyone that wishes to speak in opposition? Step up.
Hi, our names are Tim and Sandy English. We live at 472 St. Joseph.
We just moved into the town.
Welcome. Thank you. Our only question, first of all, we're not against it.
All right, so you're
questions.
You're here, all right, we gotta add a third category. Those who have questions, we'll take those first. All right.
My only question was, would it, there's a berm in between our house and the property. Just wondering if that
It's
was
our
gonna
backyard.
stay. Yeah, it's our backyard, that backs to theirs. And then we were concerned would the structure accommodate another doctor, or could they, lease space to
Possibly,
another doctor
could
down
we
the
end up with
road,
an
or-
office building in our
Yeah.
backyard?
That was basically our only questions.
Yes.
I think that the conditions that were discussed addressed at least one of those issues, right?
Yeah.
And as far as the berm, the application doesn't include any plans respecting the berm, but that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Because it has nothing to do with what's in front of us.
Right. Because that would at least shield us from,
Right, but you can ask Ms. Amon if she's gonna do something with the berm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Ms. Amon, why don't you step up to the microphone and then,
yeah, it definitely could stay if they prefer it to stay, yeah.
All right.
It's great.
yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, and like I said, the only other thing was
ending up with an office
No.
building with other doctors and stuff like that. And as long as we deal with that, then
Fine.
Okay,
We're
thank
okay?
you.
Our department's position is that the berm and the pond were built as part of the original site plan approval, and if there was to be any change to those site elements, then you'd be coming back to the planning board and explaining why it was important to change them, and I doubt you want to do that.
All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to say anything with respect to this application that doesn't fall in one of those three categories? All right, then we'll,
Covering your bases?
yes, we'll close the hearing with respect to that matter and move on to the next matter on our agenda.
ZB 1307-1, 300 Rock Beach Road. Request by Jennifer Hartman for area variances to maintain a 6-foot-high solid wood fence and front yard fence exceeding maximum allowable height, type of front yard fence, and to maintain fence with unfinished side facing adjoining property on premises 300 Rock Beach Road in an R1 residential district.
Good evening, I'm Jennifer Hartman, owner of 300 Rock Beach Road.
And do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, and is there a motion? I'll make a motion that we take the application off the table. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7 in favor, no opposed, no abstention. And we're all present.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, no, that just takes it off the table so we can hear it.
Not that easy.
I was trying.
But the last time you were here, you explained to us that it's facing the walk, and the walk is access to the beach, and the only people who would see the unfinished side are people on their way to the beach or their way back from the beach, who probably really are not paying much attention to which side of the fence is facing out, right?
Correct, and the main purpose is privacy. It's not meant to be anything else but.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions or comments?
The only one I had was, there's 2 gates in that opening.
Correct.
Walkway. Are those left open? Are they needed? Are they closed or what?
No, there's no lock. They are closed just to try to dissuade people from driving heavy equipment down. They're able to be opened if the town maintains.
Yeah, because they were open when I was there, but I didn't know if
Yeah.
it was something that somebody opens and closes or...
Yeah, anybody can open and close it. There's no lock, and sometimes the town maintains that property. I have a gentleman that works on the lawn and garden around mine, and he's been maintaining it.
They don't lock it.
No, there's no lock.
I also wanted to thank you for putting the sign out.
Thank you very much.
My question is, if this was to fail, the consequence would be that the fence would have to be reversed, is that right?
Yes.
That's really the crux of the whole matter.
Yes, and there's somebody off of, I believe it was Seneca Avenue, that had put up a fence with the wrong side facing out, and we didn't approve it, so their alternative was to either remove the fence altogether or to turn it around the right way. So for those who are watching,
Yeah.
yes,
To put a fence up, you want to put it up the right way.
we have not always granted it.
Right. In this case, however,
There's no neighbor.
Right.
people looking at the fence are the ones that live on the property, not the people that walk through the woods. Is what it amounts to, basically, just to get to the beach. And I'm in favor of this application, by the way. I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill here, but we do know that there are people that do these things without thinking about which side of the fence should face out. And that's just sort of a reminder issue.
You bring up a good point. This is a unique set of circumstances, which is really the basis for coming to get a variance in the first place.
Right.
About the only potential issue I see is people leaving things on the unfinished side, but I suppose if they put them on the supports, otherwise they'd be on the ground, so that's probably better.
Leaving things on the unfinished side.
Bottles.
Oh.
Bottles, cans,
That
other
does-
stuff that usually ends up on the beach.
That does happen from time to time. If there's a way for me to find them, I'd catch them.
Now, if this was a graffiti type of situation, the town takes care of it or the owner? How does that work?
Fence belongs to the owner.
I mean, with it being such a public walkway, it still belongs to the owner as far as repairs or maintenance.
Yes.
If I can get some plant material to grow over that thing fast enough,
There you go. Some
we won't have
ivy
to
or
worry
something.
about it.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Any other questions?
I have a question. Jennifer, are you going to be adding more fencing to this?
So part of the permit would be to take the fencing down farther towards the water.
Okay.
Which would be where the original fencing was. I'd love to maintain that 6-high, and I think that 6-foot-high fence height, which is what I put in the permit.
Right.
I could go lower, closer to the water. It's just really a privacy.
So it's the pink portion that it's been so long since I've looked at the pink portion's the part that would be new.
Correct.
All right.
No, I think some of it's currently up.
Oh,
The
okay.
portion all the way to where the line ends.
But past your nice little porch of that
Correct.
freestanding building.
Would be new, and after I received a notification that this might be in violation, I just said, don't put up any more fence until we can get this addressed, and then a permit can get approved.
Okay.
Is there anyone who has any questions concerning this application? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? For those of you who are watching on TV who are wondering why I'm going through it so fast, it's because everybody who else is in the room has already spoken with respect to all the other applications. So we'll call this hearing closed. We'll take a adjournment till 8:20.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess it's recess, not adjournment. First case that we will consider is the application with respect to 628 Seneca Road. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does someone wish to make a motion with respect to this application? All right,
I'll go ahead.
okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion on ZB 1308-2 on 628 Seneca Road. I believe that it is, based on the criteria, it will not be changing the character of the neighborhood. It probably enhance the character. It will definitely enhance the character of the neighborhood. The alternative solutions are not to rebuild the structure. However, I suppose you could turn it into a garage, but at this point it needs to come down and be redone and match the new home or the redone home. I don't believe the variance is substantial. Again, the height variance is 1 foot 25 or 1.25 feet, and the setback is actually increasing from the previous building because the previous building is right up on the road anyway. It is not going to be an adverse effect. It is a self-created problem because they want to redo and spend some money and redo a nice home. I don't blame them. So based on the criteria, I think we should approve it as asked for.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, 7 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, and we are all present. Next application pertains to 50 Densmore Road. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this
Yeah, I'd
application?
make a motion that we approve the variance as requested for the commercial truck to be parked on the property, and that there be no restrictions to that. It's has been approved by a judge many years ago, and needs our approval to continue that parking of the commercial vehicle there. I see no effect on the neighborhood, particularly the way the truck is parked. It's been nicely hidden. It certainly has, I don't consider it substantial the way it's parked. Does not have any adverse or physical or environmental effects. And just think that this is an easy one for us to approve.
I would second it, but with one modification, because I would not want to grant more variance than the applicant's requested, and as this applicant has stated that he would be retiring within 4 years, I would put the condition on that we would grant this for a period of 6 years, not indefinitely.
I think that's fine by me, yeah.
All right, so the condition of approval would be that the variance would be effective for 6 years, subject to renewal, if desired. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, and we are all still present.
You're welcome. Yep, I like that.
Next application pertains to the property at 594 Oak Ridge Drive. This is also a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this application for 594 Oak Ridge Drive with the following findings. First of all, it's a pretty small request, just a little addition on the side of the garage, so there won't be any change to the character of the neighborhood. And because it is as close to the edge of the property, there's no alternative except to get this little variance for that. Again, it's not a big request. It's pretty minor, and there would be no effect on the physical or environmental conditions if we grant this request. Is it self-created to a point? The way this plan is outlined, it looks like it'll be just the perfect solution for the additional storage that the homeowner would like to have there. So I move that we approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. We all remain present. Next application pertains to 204 Whipple Lane. This is also a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion that we grant the variance as applied for, as I believe the granting of variance will not have any undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. I cannot see any other feasible alternative to the variance, as the yard is really so visible from the street, giving no privacy at all. I believe the requested variance is not substantial, and the variance will not have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. And I believe the alleged difficulty is not self-created because of the corner lot.
I'd second that, but I do make the one change in that south side of the fence was requested after the fact for it to be 6 foot high. So Carmen said as applied for. I just would like to make note that the south side of the fence is going to be full height.
Just, you could just say that you're making the motion as amended.
As amended.
I've written down here, conditions of approval, 6-foot fence permitted on south side.
That's fine.
That work?
And you might want to add the perennial garden she has on here around it. She put that she was going to be buffering the 6-foot fence with a little garden.
It's not a big deal for me. If she does it, great. If not, it's, again, it's not a necessity. It's up to Carmen.
Yeah. I mean, she's got the drawing showing it, and it would be nice to have it on there.
I think so, yeah.
So with perennial garden. Okay. All those in favor say, well, first, any discussion?
I'm not so sure that we should include a perennial garden requirement. As someone who's tried to grow one in Arundequoit with deer and sandy soil and...
What's something?
I don't know that we'd want to require it. I don't know that it's... I mean, how do you define perennial garden?
Ms. Corcoran indicated that she's a gardener by avid trade, and so she probably can grow perennials in Arundequoit, whereas the rest of us...
Let's leave it up to her.
I think we should leave it up to the applicant. I don't know
You're
that...
sitting in a bush seat.
That's right.
That seat
Your predecessor.
That seat historically
Oh, that's
called
right.
for landscaping of fences and
That's right.
additions and
Times they are
anything that
a-changin'.
RVs.
They're changing.
Yes.
All right, well, if everyone else is fine with it, then...
So we'll put with garden. We'll put appropriate garden,
But anything that'll grow in Arundequoit that the deer won't eat.
rocks.
Evergreen.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, 7 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, and we all remain present. The next application, it pertains to 470A and 470B, St. Joseph Street. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. I'll take a stab at making the motion with respect to this application. I would move that we grant the variance with certain conditions. The first condition would be that the 2 lots are to be combined. The second condition would be that the driveway and parking are to be approved by the town. That doesn't require planning board approval?
No.
Okay. But a driveway parking to be approved by the town. The third condition would be that the applicant may exceed the 2-person per hour 4 times per month for up to 3 hours. The variance is limited to the applicant for so long as she uses the structure and
Put
there,
one in there about her being the only,
it's limited to her for so long as she uses it.
right, no other, social workers or therapists?
Right.
Working there?
It's limited to, I put in that the variance is limited to the applicant for so long as the applicant uses it for business purposes. Yes. No other, I'll just simply put in no other providers.
Didn't she say something about needing it once or twice a week till 9 o'clock?
That was the other one. I was trying to think what that other one was.
Once
All
a
right.
week.
And once
Once a week till 9.
per week may extend to 9 PM. All right. And this will not bring about any change in the character of the neighborhood, as there are a number of other properties in the area that do have outbuildings that are used for various purposes, some of which are business in nature. The alternative that would not require a variance would be that she not be allowed to conduct her practice from her home, and it would have to be done off-site in an office as she's doing now. It's not a substantial request because other than on those 4 monthly occasions, when she, up to 4 times when she might be having more than 2 people, it's not going to generate any increased traffic, and there was no request, no variance requested for a sign, so it would only be people who know where they're going and who would be coming. There's not going to be any adverse physical or environmental effect to the area if this is granted, and it is a self-created situation, but by combining the 2 lots, it takes it out of the provision that would preclude the use of the accessory structure, and the accessory structure would be much more conducive to the nature of the applicant's profession and the services provided than is available in the home, which is the only other place that the home occupation would allow it to be conducted, so.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to modify your third condition, I think, that she can exceed 2 people per hour 4 times a month for a period of 3 hours, but no more than 10 individuals. I don't believe we put a maximum on that.
I will add that less than or equal to 10 people. 4 times a month for less than or equal to 3 hours. Okay?
Oh, and Mr. Chairman, I do think these conditions have put the other residents, neighbors, whatever, minds at great ease to know that there are some guidelines here, so that they can rest assured that the neighborhood will not be invaded by an undesirable business should the time come to change ownership down there. So I think this is a good case in point of not only helping the occupant, but also protecting the neighbors as well.
I just have a clarification for the number 3 one. Can that be, she said that she would do that in the morning. Is there any, and then we have one later that says once per week for 9 PM. Should we make it clear that, or does it not matter, that the group can only be during daytime, or could it be also the night
I don't
hour?
believe we've made that.
She brought it up. You
I know,
didn't make it.
I wouldn't see a problem if she wanted to have even up until 9 if.
So 9 o'clock's the deadline.
9 o'clock's the deadline, and it's only 4 times a month that she can have more than 2 people an
Right.
hour in there, so
Okay.
I don't don't see that as being a issue. All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, 7 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, and we all remain present. Last item next to last item is the application pertaining to 300 Rock Beach Road. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion that we approve the variance as applied for. I don't believe it's going to be a hardship on the neighborhood. I don't believe there's any feasible way, alternative to the request. And although the requested variance may be substantial in some ways, I believe the privacy of the homeowner is relevant in this particular case, especially since she's asking for the finished side of the fence to be facing her property. And since it's only a walkway, I don't think it's going to be bothered by anybody else. My only other condition would be, as she mentioned, that she plans to grow plant material to cover the fence. I would like to stipulate that something would be done in that particular case. And I believe the alleged difficulty is not self-created.
So one of the conditions would be that plants to cover the fence on the unfinished side?
Yeah, her request has that indicated.
Okay. I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. We're all still present. Last item on our agenda of cases pertains to 1490 East Ridge Road. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion. This one here is,
This is Mavis Tire.
Yep. ZB 1308-1, 1490 East Ridge Road. I'd like to make a motion that we approve this. We did look at this once before. They did come back to us with a smaller sign. It is still 16 square feet larger than the town requires. However, I do not think it's a substantial variance. It is self-created because that particular corner did not have a sign before, I don't believe, and they are going through a remodel. I think it's very important, and I can't say this enough, we want Ridge Road to thrive, Ridge Road East to thrive in business, and I believe everything we can do to help and not deter the businesses along Ridge Road should be done. So that's why there is obviously alternative solution. That's not putting a sign there, or that's not approving the sign. I don't think we should do that. It is not an adverse effect, and it will not change the character of the neighborhood because the character of the neighborhood is retail business. So based on the criteria, I think we should approve it.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no votes opposed, no abstentions, and we all remain present. There's 2 other items that I'd like to take up before we adjourn. The first concerns the issue of the signs in front of properties. Last month, the application for the fence at Rock Beach Road that we just approved was adjourned because the sign had not been posted as required, and the applicant consented to adjourning that case a month so that the sign could be displayed to let those who were beyond the perimeter of the mailing know that there was a public hearing that was going to be conducted with respect to the property, so they could make inquiry if they were interested. What I'd like to do is make a motion that when the signs are distributed to the applicants, that they are given a sheet that gives them instructions on when they're to be posted and how they're to be posted, and that if the applicant does not comply with the posting requirements, that they are then deemed to have consented to have their application adjourned for a month until such time as they have complied with the sign requirements.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, and we all are present. Speaking of all being present, the last item on the agenda is adjourned from last month. This is the meeting minutes from the meeting of June 3rd, 2013. Last month, we did not have a quorum of persons present at our July meeting who were present at the June meeting, so we could not approve those minutes. Mr. Santora and I both missed the June meeting, so the 5 remaining members are present tonight who were present in June. Have all of you had an opportunity to review the proposed minutes? Is there a motion to approve those minutes now?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second it.
All right, with Mr. Santora and I abstaining, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5 votes in favor, 2 abstentions, no opposed, and that, I believe, concludes our...
Do we need to make a motion as to
Winona?
759 Winona
Yeah,
Boulevard?
Something.
Well, we received a written email from the applicant asking that that be adjourned. So I believe that's sufficient to constitute an adjournment?
Yes.
All right.
Just stay on that table then.
So it's not,
We'll
it's
vote.
still tabled, so it's been adjourned at the applicant's request. So the time is not, still not running.
Correct.
Because it was tabled with their consent.
Thank you for that clarification.
All right. We are now adjourned. That motion carried 7-0. And if he could, Mr. Polino would have voted twice.